Field, where apparently I am better at in podcast audio setup swaps than Nathaniel Hackett is at clock management. I am your host at Beerfield Hop with two-piece, Chris Hopper, as always, joined by at Beerfield Theory, Dan.
Dude, I might be better at what you just said than Nathaniel Hackett at clock management. So,
yeah, you very well could be.
I mean, we're both very new to it, and one of us didn't fuck up. So, because I didn't do it.
True. I blew a mixer board, so we're doing things a little different today. If it works out, we might keep it. I'm still going to get a mixer board for live applications, but if this works out, we might just stick with it. Beerfield Theory at Ryan Miner _FFB. Ryan.
Welcome.
All
Hello.
right, we got a lot to get to today. You can follow the show, Beerfield Podcast, on YouTube, Beerfield on Twitter. Ryan Miner, a lot more active on Twitter, including Sunday Start Sits and questions. So our Twitter game is taking a major step up since he joined the show. We got a ton to get into, though. We got all of week 1 to recap. We got week 2 to preview. So we're just going to cut straight to the chase.
Beer.
Halfway through the show. No, I'm kidding.
What's fueling Beerfield?
Ryan, you got liquor. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Seagram 7 Crown and 7-Up, also known as a 7 and 7.
7.
Yes.
Ryan wants to party.
Ryan's doing a cocktail review. I haven't had one of those in a while.
I'm
Dan?
going to change it up a little bit.
I'm joining. Well, I don't know if Hoppy is still on the train, but it's Oktoberfest season.
It is Oktoberfest season.
So, of course, your boy finally got to the liquor store that's not his house and was able to pick up some Oktoberfest beer, including Odell's Oktoberfest. This is a Marzen-style lager. I haven't had Odell's. I had mine, had sales throughout the weekend. I've had Civil Life, which I'll have on the show again. We just had it on, but I'll give my take on it. Spoiler, it's one of my favorite Oktoberfests. So, but yeah, today we have Odell Brewing out of Colorado. I can't remember. I don't think it's Denver. Fort Collins, Colorado.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, same difference, right?
Close enough. All right. I, out of St. Louis, Missouri, am drinking Heavy Riff's Velvet Underbrown. So, base brown beer from them. So no, not Oktoberfest this time. Doing a little market research. So, Velvet Underbrown. We'll have a full review about halfway through the show. All right. Now, getting into some of the thicker stuff here. If I can remember where I put the show notes. Dan still like their show notes. They're there. All right.
I got them. I was able to find them. We're good.
First and foremost, we're going to run through some injuries real quick. So we're going to try to do this a little bit differently. Going to run through injuries and roster moves first, just really quick. Harrison Butker is going to miss Thursday. If you're in a league with kickers, get him out. I forget who is a practice squad kicker. Matt Amendola, former Jets kicker.
Okay.
Was their practice squad kicker. So he will get the reps there. Ty Montgomery out for 4 weeks. So if you didn't realize Ty Montgomery was hurt, I didn't. Hopefully you canceled your waiver claims.
Hopefully.
I did. So Keenan Allen, hamstring, he's going to miss Thursday night. Very quick turnaround for the Chargers. So no big surprise here. This you would assume this might lead to somebody finding Mike Williams wherever he was hiding. But DeAndre Carter, a couple other guys, a lot of targets. Pretty much an even split between Mike Williams, DeAndre Carter, Gerald Everett, all seeing 4 targets. Josh Palmer should also draw a little bit more. So very spread out for the Chargers after Keenan Allen went down. So don't just think all that's going to go to Allen or go to Williams, because that's probably not the case. Kenneth Walker, hernia, he will actually return for week 2. So we'll get to see kind of what that split looks like or what they have in mind. Dak Prescott, thumb surgery. Broke it on a helmet. So they're not placing him on IR. This should be a 4 to 6 week injury. Jerry Jones thinking he can be back by the beginning of October, and I just have flashbacks of Yeah, Russell Wilson's thumb injury from last year.
Yeah, there's I highly doubt it. Now he may get desperate and try to force it back, but I have the fact that the initial reports were 6 to 8 weeks, and they think that he can come back before 4. It's just like, I'm sorry, but I don't think Jerry Jones is a doctor.
No.
So I have a hard time believing that he'll be back in time.
Yeah, not putting him on IR is a strong move, though, because this isn't like baseball where you can decide to put him on IR later and it's retroactive.
Yeah.
It's the moment from when he hits IR. So,
Well, what I understand is why not put him on IR? If you're saying he's going to be out 4 weeks, IR is 4 weeks right now.
I don't
Minimum.
agree. I don't, because they think he can make it back in 3, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Dallas has 2 pretty viable options at backup quarterback. They have a good defense. They have a solid running game. Solid skill players. Doesn't make sense to try to rush Dak back. They can hang around without him for a few games, I think. Elijah Mitchell sprained MCL, placed on IR. Marlon Mack has since been signed. 6 to 8 week recovery for Mitchell. Jeff Wilson is the backup there. Tyrion Davis-Price will assume second back roles now. So
him and Jordan Mason are now the 2 most. Those are the 2 most added. Again, we've preached throughout the entire offseason, just pick up every San Francisco running back, and that now includes something named George Mason or
Jordan Mason.
What about the recent one that added the practice squad? Marlon
Mack
yeah.
too.
That's another one you can grab. What you don't do is go drop $90 on Trey Sermon and Fab.
Oh my God,
he ain't with the Niners anymore.
That was so bad.
Like, I wasn't awake when that happened, but then I woke when I read it. I woke right up. I'm like, I don't even need coffee right now. I can't believe this just happened.
I don't even need
so
coffee.
Awesome.
Yeah. T. Higgins in concussion protocol. And then Chris Godwin, hamstring injury, which is the least surprising injury from week 1. Because when guys come back from an ACL injury that aren't quite ready to come back from an ACL injury, it's almost always a hamstring or a quadricep that they end up hurting because those muscles are overcompensating because the tendons around the knee are not strong enough yet to handle whatever it is they're doing. Godwin will probably miss a couple of weeks, as he should. This is a pure sign that he should not have come back from the ACL that early, that he's got a hamstring injury after week 1.
Absolutely. I thought it was crazy to see it. I mean, it was good that he had some production prior to it, so he didn't give you the 0 or the dud, but it's I'm just watching. It's like Dalvin Cook in 2018 when he came back from his ACL tear, and it took until the end of the year because they were so fucking reluctant to not bench him. So hopefully the Bucs won't do what most teams do and force out a player that shouldn't be playing.
Well, the way Julio Jones looked, they don't really need to. So
who's also hurt. So
he's also hurt.
Is also hurt. It's going to be Russell Gage, Jalen Darlin.
Now, note on that, by the way, we're not putting people in here that are just banged up. You can find out about them on Sunday. We'll put Thursday night players in here, but if it's a Sunday player that's not officially out or like for sure going to miss, and it's not somebody returning from a multi-week injury, that's all shit you got to show up for on Sunday. No. Colts cut Rodrigo Blankenship. So
he had a rough Sunday.
He did have a rough Sunday. I did not see.
I did not.
Some Laker guy I never heard of either. And then Blankenship also went claimed free off waivers, so he's a free agent.
That's not entirely surprising, actually. So yeah, a little bit of a surprising move there. Anyway, let's get into some more fun stuff. So, want to run through some position battles here, and if I missed anything, we can talk about it. But real quick, just going to break this down. We'll quick hit it as we move through it and recap week 1. So, looking at Houston, their running back competition, Rex Burkhead saw 72% of the snaps. Lovie Smith, quote, wants to get Pierce more reps, but a lot of people weren't expecting this, but Burkhead does a lot of little things well in addition to pass catching, pass blocking, and everything. He was the more productive back and had a clear lead in snap share. So it's going to be a little bit more work than people thought for Pierce, I think. hopefully you listened to us when we said, maybe pump the brakes on that one a little bit going into week 1.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't happen the way we thought it did. Like I did not think Houston would lead this game for the majority of it. And Burkhead, Burkhead just, it was him. But the touches weren't,
touches weren't that far off.
The targets were far off.
The targets is
were
what
way
matters.
off. And they were always going to be off because Pierce is not a pass catcher.
No.
That was never going to be his role. So you already had to plan for that.
Yep.
Giants wide receivers. Kadarius Toney played only 12% of snaps behind guys like Richie James and David Sills, even after Wandale Robinson went down hurt. So a little concerning here if you spent that late single-digit round capital on Kadarius Toney being the only somewhat productive Giants wide receiver from last year, because Richie James is firmly seated in as their wide receiver 1 right now.
Jesus. And
I say that kind of jokingly, but
yeah. But also to know, this is now 2 coaching staffs that have now done this to Toney.
Yep.
So
something to
not good, Cotton, not good.
No, not good. So we'll keep an eye on that. You're benched him for now. You don't really have an option there. You can't trust only getting 12% of the snap share, even if the 1 touch was productive.
Yeah.
For the Bills, Devin Singletary was the most productive of the bunch. Zach Moss, though, heavily involved in the receiving game. Singletary was on the field for 56% of snaps to Moss's 37. James Cook, early fumble, and then was not heard from again.
He was one and done.
Yeah.
Quickly.
So, again, we'll keep an eye on this. Right now, it's still Singletary, the guy you want to start, but it does look like Zach Moss, even in that negative or even in that positive game script against the Rams, gonna get some receiving work apparently.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this.
I don't either. This is why we don't know anything after week 1 still, because
I'll still lean Singletary, at least who's actually efficient with you when you ran, and not Zach Moss's 6 for 15 and 6 catches for 21 yards. I'm sorry, but that's fucking terrible.
That's bad.
Yeah, it's not great at all.
That's not how you gain more touches. It's how you lose more touches.
Yep. So we'll see, and some of that may have been, a message to James Cook too. So we'll have to keep watching that one. Saints wide receivers, Landry and Thomas split targets essentially. 2 touchdowns for Thomas, 114 yards for Landry. Saints got 2 viable wide receivers,
and it's not who we thought it was. I mean, we knew Michael Thomas, but
we didn't know Michael Thomas because they were saying that he was gonna be like on a snap count, and then that snap count went out the window.
We assumed Michael Thomas, but you can never, looking at you, Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown after a bit, but you can never just assume that somebody misses a year and a half of football and comes back and produces.
Yeah, he scores 2 touchdowns right off the bat.
2 touchdowns right out the gate and 100 yards on the other side. It was against Atlanta, not a good defense. Saints were playing from behind, though. I mean, look, that's a good sign.
Jameis only 34 attempts. I mean, it's hit the head. Hit the nail on the head here. They played behind the entire game. I think if this team wants, it's against Atlanta though, so we're all a little shocked. But again, week 1, we don't know anything.
Yeah, we'll watch game scripts, but this is all stuff that you note, and that is definitely something to note.
Yeah.
For the Bears, Khalil Herbert trailed in carries. He was way more efficient though. Montgomery did dominate the snap share, but I think it was like 9 touches, 45 and a tutty for Khalil Herbert.
Yeah,
70-30 split, but in a game that was heavily run scripted, at least early.
And I wasn't as in tune to watching the game again at the bar with a bunch of TVs on, heads tilting everywhere, but it looked like Herbert got more run as the game was getting closer to the end. It was Montgomery early on, and then Herbert was clearly the better running back right now. At least from an efficiency standpoint, it may just be true because we predicted this could happen.
Yeah,
they're starting to sow the seeds of what may be true in that Herbert is going to take on more of a role as the season goes on.
Yeah, big adjustment there. So for the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco led in carries. Did have a touchdown on the ground as well. Clyde Edwards-Helaire caught 2 touchdowns. He was an even split of receiving, worked with McKinnon, and really the snap share was pretty even. I think McKinnon was 28, Pacheco was 25, and Hilaire was also in that same range.
It was a blowout.
Pacheco's more in the second half.
Yeah. You had a blowout. So, again, just another one to keep an eye on. You had two productive backs there, but when that snap share is pretty much split up in threes right now, we're going to keep watching that. But good showing for Pacheco.
Yeah.
On the wide receiver side of that game, by the way, Juju Smith-Schuster, 8 targets to Hardman 6. Way, way more productive, 25% target share. You give me Juju with a 25% target share in this offense week in and week out, all about that one.
Yes,
and
He's the one.
And it's in a flanker role and not in a gadget
Right.
5-8 out role like he had in his last couple of years of big bits. Is what we want. And he was cheap because we kept punting the table for him. Love it.
Pump this into my veins. For the Patriots, Jacoby Myers led the receivers. Backfield was pretty much a 50-50 split between Stevenson and Harris. However, with Ty Montgomery going down, Stevenson could be in line for more passing work.
But speaking of the passing work, I mean, look at what Harris did. He led the freaking running backs in targets.
Yes, he did.
It's like, what the hell happened?
Yep.
Like, it was all Ramondre Stevenson. We heard all offseason being the third down back, being the pass catcher, and ended up being Harris in week 1. So it's like everything we've been talking about is thrown out the window.
Yeah, that's fucking New England for you. Like we don't learn anything about them till it's too late.
They only ran 2 formations.
Till after the season.
They ran 2 formations the whole game.
2?
Only 2. Jets backfield, Carter, 100 scrimmage yards, 19 total running back targets for this team, 10 to Brees, 9 to Carter. Pretty much a straight 60-40 split from a snap share perspective with the edge going to Michael Carter. Both guys were productive with what they got. Carter a little bit more so on the ground, but both were productive through the air. So we'll just keep watching it. 60-40 split, though, right now, leaning towards Carter.
Yeah, both players are flex plays for as long as Flacco's the quarterback.
Yep, and then we'll see what happens. And then for Jacksonville, James Robinson, 11 carries, 66 yards, 2 total touchdowns, 52% snap share. Pretty even split between him and ETN, but Robinson much more productive. So, again, just things we're keeping an eye on week 1 and watching how they shift. It's important to know how these guys are being deployed because these are the guys that all sat in kind of that. It could be him, it might not be him type role.
Saw the note. Robinson dominated the carries. Obviously, you can look at that, but routes run, ETN dominated
that, yeah,
and had the majority of the snaps and hurry up offense, a 2-minute drill. So both players in ETN do not fade him this week against the Colts, who just gave up 8 targets.
James Robinson shutting up some of that Achilles talk too, huh?
He is who we thought Akers. He is who people wanted Akers to be.
And ETN dropped 2 touchdowns too.
Yeah,
he dropped 1.
I thought he dropped 2. I thought he dropped a deep one that was easy.
Lawrence missed him wide open, and then he dropped one which was right in his hands. Like it was bad. But yeah.
Womp
womp. Hey, good transition to Cam Akers though. Worried segment. Couple guys that no showed that we got to talk about a little bit that were higher up picks. Cam Akers, 0 yards on 3 carries, 16% snap share.
I am nervous right now with him, but I feel like it's going to transition up. I feel like it's going to start bouncing back, just based on coach speak.
I'm not super nervous about this, just because I don't think Darrell Henderson's going to be week in, week out the guy. I think there is going to be opportunity for Akers there. I'm not sure if it was just a game script thing or what the reason was in this one, where it was primarily Henderson, or if it was just a hot hand approach. But I do think that there are better days ahead for this. I think that you put him on your bench until he shows something, but you're not in drop territory yet. You just can't start him. But I don't think that Henderson's going to hold this to himself the entire season.
No,
go ahead.
No, I'm just there. There's a video surfacing around of what looks to be Akers making a money decision on a pass block they got through, and it looked like he dodged it. I don't think he's healthy. I think we were kind of led to believe he was more healthy than he was. I think this was the call of that. And McVay has stated throughout the entire time of Henderson's career that he's not a week in, week out bell cow. That's not what they want him to be. That's not the role that's being given to him. But he was one of two players that looked good for the Rams last Thursday night. And you're not going to get a harder matchup than Buffalo. So,
yeah.
And I think Akers also had an undisclosed injury too prior to the game, or coming into
the fact that he's still recovering from his Achilles tear. I'm sure there's some
residual.
Yeah.
Allen Robertson, 95% snap share, 2 targets, 1 reception. This has been talked about in all corners of the internet. My first takeaway from this, though, is that a lot of you Facebook and Twitter analysts don't know what the hell zone coverage is. He was so open. Now there's 3 linebackers underneath of him that are going to jump that pass as soon as Stafford lets it go, and he's running for his life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's just it right there. Stafford's running for his life.
Yeah.
You're not going to throw it that way, and especially if you throw it that way, the linebackers are looking right at your eyes. They know exactly what you're getting ready to do.
Right.
So it makes total sense.
And there's 3 underneath in one picture, and another one there's bracket coverage on him, and he's open. Now that corner is breaking as soon as that ball comes out.
Yeah.
That and I swore I saw something on Twitter where Stafford talked about post game that they were expecting more man, and that's the only reason why that Robinson didn't get the ball more is because they played zone. Mm-hmm. Like it was basically stated that they played like full on managed coverage like twice. Like I couldn't find it, so don't vet me on it, but I mean Robinson's game is predicated on one-on-one coverage on the outside,
beating one guy because he doesn't separate
one guy.
well.
No, not at all.
Now there were definitely throws where he was open, but the other thing too is that you're looking for your hot read. It's usually not the outside guy. Cut plays a slot. So I think this will get better. The Bills are a tough defense.
And the Rams didn't play any starters in preseason.
Right. So this is going to be a slow burn. I do think this will get better, though. And we'll keep an eye on it week to week and see what happens there. Amari Cooper, 3 receptions, 17 yards on 6 targets.
Some of those throws were on Brissett on that, so
yeah,
I think it's an easy pass on that.
At least he got 6 targets in an ugly game.
But Jacoby Brissett ain't going anywhere at least the first part of the season. And you've got, a little bit of carryover. It's got to feel like deja vu carrying over from Dallas with this game. So, if you're sick of Amari Cooper right now, I don't think a lot of people can blame you. He hasn't had value now for half a season and week 1.
Yeah, it's not good. I mean, I don't think any of the 3 of us are high on him, especially after the Watson news. And we got everything, we got all the info that we needed on that front.
I wasn't anyway. Cleveland was always a wait and see type of wide receiver room for me.
Yeah, it's
because the offense they want to run too doesn't really produce.
I do expect some better days like Robinson. I mean, again, week 1 this is why we don't do victory laps, so we don't overreact or I guess underreact too much. So it's a bench. He'll go where Robinson goes.
Adam Thielen, 36 yards.
He wasn't part of the game script.
The game script was the Vikings were ahead
Justin Jefferson
for a lot of it, and it was all Justin Jefferson.
I mean, again, we kind of saw this, and I wish I would have paid more attention to it, but we saw the same thing with Robert Woods last year when Kevin O'Connell, designed the plays that to do. Yes, McVay is the one that calls them, but obviously Jefferson's taking on the cup role. He's playing more inside, more outside, or he's playing more inside, less outside too. And a guy like Thielen, it's supposed to take on the number 2 spot. Woods really wasn't hyper productive. It was more touchdown fueled, but he had games that looked exactly like this, where Jefferson goes for well over $150, a couple touchdowns, while Thielen just kind of this does sustain. And I think you guys will agree that KJ Osborne's a better number 3. So there's again more competition. It's not Jefferson's competition. Now it may be Thielen versus Osborne.
I think what it was right now in this one though too is that if your first read's open, which is probably normally Jefferson, you don't got to go to the second read.
All day long.
And this was a blowout. You're gonna have to have somebody take away Jefferson before, or a closer game script. There are better days ahead for Thielen too.
Oh, absolutely.
This was purely game script. It was a blowout.
Well, I mean, it was all the Jefferson show. Like, I think the Vikings are going to start seeing, a little more cover 2.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
And then Hunter Renfrow, 3 receptions for 21 yards. So I love Hunter Renfrow, but this was always a concern for me, bringing Adams in and, having Waller there, because, look, the guy you lost last year Waller got hurt, and then you had the Ruggs situation last year that led to Hunter Renfrow getting a ton of target volume. Problem now is that you got Devontae Adams there, who's going to require double-digit targets a game. And you've got Darren Waller there, who pretty much commands double-digit targets a game. And then you basically have 10 to 15 targets just spread around everybody else.
It's Waller and Renfrow the same amount of targets.
Renfrow didn't do as much with it, but even
but
still,
that's the thing. Like it's literally Adams.
Yeah, and Adams being there basically is just, that throws cold water on Hunter Renfrow, and that was always my fear with him this season, is that he had a great year last year because they had to rely on him, but with Adams there, they don't.
Yeah, and I still expect better days ahead. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
Yeah, I say he could be having a boom bust wide receiver 3 days coming. Especially this week. I actually like him this week. I think he can actually.
There's not a lot of boom bust to Hunter Renfrow's game. It's
unfortunately his role is he doesn't get the deep shots. Waller, we got to see more of the boom bust games in Waller.
Those little pop rocks you get at the 4th of July that you throw on the ground and they kind of pop and make a little spark.
Sometimes they don't.
Sometimes they don't.
I got a god fuck.
And you throw them at your friends and stuff.
Yeah, Hunter Renfrow.
That's
a box of Hunter Renfrows.
That's a Hunter Renfrow boom.
Oh my god, that's funny.
I like it.
All right, couple guys to keep an eye on. We're gonna go with a watch list, claim or pass on this one, real quick. Marcus Marietta, 300 total yards at a rushing touchdown, 72 yards on the ground.
He's streamer.
I stream him this week.
That's fine.
He's a streamer. I'm claiming that in Superflex for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If he's gonna put up lines like that. Cordero Patterson, 136 total yards and a touchdown. He's not on waivers, but
no Damian Williams hurt.
Yeah,
and Tyler Allgeier's 5th round rookie should be. I
don't know if he's gonna be active.
Should be the Patterson. Yeah, God, if he's not active, he should be. If he's not, that's an even worse sign for Allgeier.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 11 targets, 66 yards.
Past that.
Passing on it?
Yeah, I'm not jumping on that right now.
I like the targets, but I expect a little more. Chemistry from Brissett and Cooper. I don't think we're going to see 11 targets a lot from DBJ. Yeah.
I'd probably claim it just to see, rather than get caught with my pants down. It's early in the season. There are enough guys on your roster that did nothing in week 1.
So what you're saying is you're not spending 90% of your fat budget on them.
No.
You should spend the opposite of that. Maybe 10. Maybe.
Yeah.
I would
probably do
and 10's a bit high for me.
I wouldn't throw a lot out there on it, or even if waivers run and he's left alone, because it was a quiet lot of targets. But I think I would claim it. I could say that about these next couple guys, that I would claim it and just see, right?
Sure.
Peoples-Jones, new quarterback, he gets 11 targets. Robbie Anderson, 8 targets, 102 yards and a touchdown with Baker. Something to pay attention to.
Big play for him.
Yeah.
And, it was Robbie Anderson's mold. So
not Robbie Anderson's mold. He will disappear at times. You kind of know what he is. Noah Brown getting his first real shot. He tied for the team leading target. Yeah, second on the team behind CeeDee Lamb. They had 9 targets apiece, I believe. 68 yards, 5 receptions for Noah Brown. Led the team in yardage.
Nah, no Dak, no interest.
We
saw how bad that
Rush can do.
we saw how bad that offense was
but
3 years ago when Dak got hurt.
But I'm going to go the other way with this, right? Noah Brown has been a Cowboy now for what? He was drafted super young and super raw in 2017.
Yeah,
so
I actually liked him then.
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
Well, no, we both did because when
yeah.
we watched film, we just said he should have stayed in college, and the Cowboys have held on to him that whole time, which means he's been working on the scout team and on second string with Cooper Rush the whole time. Cooper Rush has been there too. There is chemistry there with those two.
I'm not saying that's just me personally. Again, if you want to do the same thing with like DBJ, like if you just want to pick him up for cheap, that fine.
I wouldn't
just throw him at the end of your bench stash. I'm not
toss claims out there on him everywhere. I lost Keenan Allen and Chris Godwin.
Yeah, I mean, if you're waiver claims, like if you're not doing fab, I would not waste a high waiver claim on Noah Brown.
It was fab.
I don't see the upside. Fab's different, right? But if you're playing in the traditional waiver claim, world, which you shouldn't be, but if you are, I would not waste a high waiver.
And these are all guys like if you got a spot, right? Because if you are a Chris Godwin, a Keenan Allen, manager, or an Elijah Mitchell manager, you're gonna have spots because you're about to throw them on IR, so you're gonna have spots. DJ Chark, 8 targets, 58 yards, and a touchdown.
I'm not panicking.
This isn't a panic. This is watch claim.
Panic?
Are you watch listing him? Are you claiming him? Or are you passing on it?
I'm claiming
numbers
him.
Look good, man. 95%.
Yeah.
Like he's pretty much on the field for every play.
Yeah, I would take it. He should have been drafted in most leagues, anyways.
Yeah.
That's the best part is that he wasn't.
He wasn't. Yeah.
And he was cheap.
Double-digit pick because of the offense he was on.
He was a poor man's Christian Kirk that also doesn't play in the slot. But so different but same. Different but the same.
OJ Howard, 2 touchdowns right off the street.
Hell no.
No.
I'm dodging it like a bullet.
12% snap share, ran 6 routes.
They just signed him on Thursday.
100% touchdown rate though on every catch. Come on.
Don't wait till someone picks him up this week, drops him in 2 weeks or next week, and then you pick him up as he starts to get more and more.
How much of the offense could he have learned since they just signed him on Thursday? I mean, I wouldn't expect him for more than a small package of plays.
But that's the thing. Again, let somebody else pick him up as he's still learning the offense. He's not going to score 2 touchdowns every game. He'll get dropped, and then as he gets more acclimated into the offense and obviously sees the field more, then you pick him up.
Yeah, he's probably going to put up 2 points this next week.
Yeah, he will.
And then that's when he's going to get dropped.
Week. That sounds like an OJ Brown world.
Tight ends that aren't studs, right? It's just kind of what you get. Let's see. Ravens, Kenyon Drake led the backfield. No J.K. Dobbins, but J.K. Dobbins just returned to practice. So, keep an eye on that, I guess. Devin Duvernay, 2 touchdowns. Only 4 targets, but Bateman had 5, but 2 touchdowns for Duvernay. So, nice little floor player to watch.
Yeah, we'd love to see the targets go up, but he's the clear number 2. I was shocked, only 21% from the slot this week. That was a little surprised. I thought he worked more, but the Ravens don't run a lot of 3 counts, so makes sense.
As long as Joe Flacco's around, Corey Davis sent out to pasture for a lot of Elijah Moore, led the team targets, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 77 yards.
Yeah. Wilson also had a nice, Flacco throws the ball 59 times. You expect a lot of guys to have, passable days.
Good numbers.
Yeah.
But Davis, I agree. Put a little watch list on him as long as Flacco's playing.
Yep. Just pay attention to that because remember, he's
a
highly talented, formerly productive wide receiver that went to the Jets. So Richie James led the Giants wide receivers with 6 targets. I am not interested in anything with them right
just
now.
One Giants player you want to be interested
Saquon Barkley, and that's it.
And that's his name.
Don't wear it. And we'll get to him in just a second. Yeah. Zay Jones, 9 targets, 6 receptions, 65 yards, second on the team.
I love it. I think
they're
to
watch.
Passing a lot.
That's why, as Ryan said, it's not going to be Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne.
Yeah, that's got to be a watch list because the volume they're going to have to throw. Zay Jones kind of came into his own at the end of last year, so
What is
Definitely
dead may
watch
never
on that.
die.
Curtis Samuel, 11 targets, 8 receptions, 55 yards and a touchdown. Led the Commanders in targets.
And he also rushed the ball, too.
In a game in which they had control of for most of it until the end. Something to watch.
This is the hype that Curtis Samuel's been getting since he went over there, and he's been not healthy. So,
also, if you got McLaurin, watch out. This is clearly the most competition. If he's going to become, boom bust in terms of touchdowns and not get the targets that he's been normally getting because his competition is actually healthy, Hopper's going to be. When you sold him for that second, I thought that was a little low, and it might actually come out to be A-okay. We'll say pick 13 because it was.
Was it just for a second, or did I end up doing something else?
It was just for a second.
It was pick 13, though. That's what it was.
It was pick 13. So in a 14-plus league, it's still a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Which is a good way to look at it.
Yes.
But watch this.
I don't remember who I turned that into either.
I will tell you.
Well, you looked that up. Yeah, this is definitely something worth watching. Quick rookie check-in. Chris Olave, 3 targets. Look, you're not freaking out about any of these rookies yet. We're going to pay attention to some of the better performances, the not great performances. You are not freaking out about any of this yet. It's the week 1 of their NFL career.
Look what Justin Jefferson did a few years ago. He did it, and then he took off.
Jonathan Taylor, same thing.
You took John Mechie with pick 13.
Oh.
Hey.
We'll see.
Whoops.
Not his fault. That's not a whoops.
No one's fault there. That was your guy.
Unfortunate situation. So
yeah.
That was your guy,
we'll
and you took him, and that's completely fine.
Yep, and we'll see what happens. This is the right situation. Nobody knew that. Dude's not exactly injury prone. Nobody knew what he was going to come down with. So,
but it was over Dodson.
Yeah,
whatever that's worth.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Talk to me.
We'll see.
Talk to me in 3 years.
Well, I'd hope so.
Yeah. Olave,
I can't make a promise.
Olave 3 targets, Pickens 3 targets, James Cook fumbled, not noticeable. Sky Moore 1 target, Rashad White 21 total yards. He did mix in as the guy that was spelling Leonard Fournette, so we'll keep an eye on that. As we like to say here, he's 1 injury away.
I mean, he did exactly what we thought he'd do.
Yep. Jalen Tolbert was inactive. That's not a great start. Alec Pierce 2 targets and a drop. So all of those guys.
Protocol.
Yep. So all those guys kind of just debuts to forget. Now, last 4 guys, and my apologies to Isaiah Pacheco. That also should have been here. Not quite as bad. Packers rookies, 5 targets for Dabbs, 4 targets for Watson. For rookies, 37 and 34 yards. Pretty even. It's not nothing. Garrett Wilson, 8 targets, 4 receptions, 52 yards. Nice, solid little start. He had a good game. 8 targets is good volume. They did, again, throw 50-plus times, but, good volume for him. Kyle Phillips.
Look,
led the team in receiving.
The peripherals look great.
Yeah.
Obviously, from a target per route run, things look fantastic. He didn't run a whole lot of routes compared to the 2 starters. 3 starters, I think. I think he's number 4. But something to look out for because he was basically the Renfrow for, from last year for Derek Carr when it came to crunch time.
Oh, rookie year Cooper Kupp. Or
Kyle, yeah. Well, yeah.
That's kind of about how Kupp got started. So I'm not making that comparison, right? Kupp was an worldly college.
Kupp was a starter right away,
but
he was productive against better competition too.
Yeah.
Like with better competition on his team.
Yep. So just something to keep an eye on with Phillips, especially when you get towards week 4, if he's still getting this target volume and you start to need those plug-in guys. Jahan Dotson, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 40 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Thorn and McLaurin side.
Pretty good start there. A little bit touchdown driven, but solid starts for those guys.
I mean, he was he's also the starter.
I still take Samuel over him though.
Well, we're not completely different roles. Like he like it's him and it's him versus McLaurin for the outside targets.
I'm saying like a fantasy if you're doing like a waiver or
I'd take Samuel over. Yes. Sure.
I would too. I think the difference is that Samuel might be more likely to be on waivers than Dodson.
Yeah.
That's a good question. They're probably about equal.
See if you can find that. Couple storylines. We'll skip over Seahawks clock management in the interest of time. Saquon Barkley. Shout out to him. He looks like his old self. 194 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. First time he's looked that explosive in years. Really since his rookie season. So that was great to see. And you're going to have yourself a hell of a value if he keeps that up.
I was pounding the table for him.
We tried, guys. We tried.
Think he keeps it up?
With you guys. We tried to tell you to take Barkley. Don't just third round, second round, even back in first. Just take Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you listened.
No victory laps yet. But
Not victory laps.
Not yet, but pretty good start.
We're stretching for it.
Pretty good start.
You can start victory lapping in week 4. That's the rule. After week 4.
Let's see if he does this, 2 more weeks in a row.
Yep.
I may jump the gun a little
Anybody
bit.
can have a good week. You got to get some trends.
No,
I'm not saying that about Barkley, though. I think he does keep up a high level of productivity. I think he's got a chance to get himself right and get himself healthy. So barring another
Brian
injury.
Dabble. Shout out to Dabble, too,
Shout
man.
out to
With
Dabble.
the gutsy 2-point conversion.
And then gets it.
Love it, dude. That
Gutsy
was
conversion. And he did a really good Titans impression here by, just not having a great team, but having a stud running back and finding a way to win.
Yeah, God, made Daniel Jones look respectable. Oof.
Packers and Rams duds. Are we concerned about either offense?
Ask me again in like 2 weeks. If it's this bad, then yeah, I'll be concerned.
I'd be more concerned about the Packers given the lack of proven weaponry there. But
Rodgers retires halfway through the season.
Yeah.
God, I hope. I'm praying and they just go like they're gonna beat the Bears, but God, if the Bears beat them,
I would laugh
God,
so hard.
I'm telling dude, I'm putting a little money on the Bears money line, even though I have no actual faith in that happening. But after all this shit he's talked, God, if he loses to the Bears, he could retire. He could just say fuck it. Rodgers has that attitude. I swear to God, I think he could do that. If they start out really bad, and just say fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Throws Antonio Brown out of the stadium.
Takes his shirt off
at
and just fucking walks out in the middle of the play. He says, "Fuck it,
I'm out." It's all you, Jordan Love.
All right, and then upsets. Browns, Bears, Steelers, Houston. They tied. Giants, Seahawks. You buying any of these teams at all to be better than we thought they were yet?
And Browns were favored, but. No,
I'm still looking at it.
No, not yet.
The Bears, it's hard to really actually do anything with that game, with it being a monsoon game. It was great. Hey, Justin Fields didn't play great, but dude found a way to win. I don't care what the weather looks like. That means something.
Opportunistic defensive plays too at the Jalen Johnson fumble and the Eddie Jackson interception.
Yeah. Pittsburgh should have lost that game. Fucking 5 turnovers they forced and barely won.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them. They're going to be terrible.
Giants, I think, are the ones that could be better than expected. Good coaching goes a long way. Yeah. Seattle
just caught the perfect Denver time. Like we talked about it last week when we talked about the game preview. It was they were always a little concerning, right? Whole new coaching staff, brand new quarterback. They also didn't play a lot of their starters in preseason. It was lined up for Seattle to take advantage of that at home and win the only important game that most Seahawks fans want this year, and that's this week 1.
Indeed. All right. Dan, I'll kick it over to you. Let's go ahead and start this little rundown here.
All right.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Thursday night, Chiefs versus Chargers. Chiefs at home. Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites. Game total is at 53.5. Chiefs look absolutely dominant against the Cardinals this past week. Chargers did what Chargers do against the Raiders, always close. I like the Chiefs at 4.5. I thought maybe this would open up at 5.5, and you get a little bit extra on top. Look, Chiefs are rolling. This is the first time since Patrick Mahomes, took over for the team that there wasn't as much lofty expectations. And I think like Michael Jordan said, they took that pretty personally. So I like the Chiefs to cover, and I don't love the game total here. High game total in a short week for both teams. Chargers did lose Keenan Allen. I would not. I would take the under on this.
Fantasy perspective, looking at the Chargers, Austin Eckler's an obvious one. Justin Herbert's an obvious one. Wide receivers get a little dicey. There's not a clear answer here for the absence of Keenan Allen. They're going to spread the ball around. Now, the good news is that if this game's close, it'll be a shootout. If it's a blowout, I anticipate it's going to be because the Chiefs are up. So, if you need, because there have been a couple key wide receiver injuries at this point, you can lean Mike Williams, who should find himself again.
Hopefully.
And, Josh Palmer, DeAndre Carter. Again, a lot of things spread around. The one beneficiary I do see here is probably Gerald Everett. Donald Parham's not going to play again. And Everett did put together a pretty nice game at the tight end position. So he could be really the biggest beneficiary of the Keenan Allen absence, especially working over the middle and the seams.
I agree.
On the Chiefs side of it, we just talked about the running backs. That's a bit of a crapshoot there. They're all splitting at 33%. Pacheco got in late. Juju Smith-Schuster, Travis Kelce with confidence. You could even make a run at Mecole Hardman, who did have the target volume, although Chargers have a good defense. So I would just say don't get cute there. If you do need one of the running backs, Pacheco was the most productive for whatever that's worth. But Edwards-Helaire, involved in the receiving game, did catch a couple touchdowns. You could be okay with either of them in an RB3 type role.
And in DFS perspective, I like Isaiah Pacheco because you can only do the, what is it?
Single game Thursday showdown.
Yeah. Yep. And where you do like the select captain and all that.
Yep.
And you have Pacheco coming in at what was it? What did I see him at? $6,600. So that's not a bad one to start playing with as you're trying to build your lineup. But for sure, I mean, if I were to build this lineup, I would be definitely trying to figure out how to get Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, who are the two highest dollar players, somehow in that lineup, because I feel like it's just going to be like a back and forth game.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right. Commanders at the Lions. 1.5 point favorites. 48.5 is the game total. Lions to cover.
They played Philly really hard.
They did. It got ugly, and then they made it not ugly. And Washington is not Philly, not even close. The fact that this is 48.5 seems a little eyebrow raising. I don't think both offenses are full in check. Swift's a little banged up, and Wentz is literally just a coin flip in what he's going to be that game. So I take the under more so than anything here, and just maybe skip the spread.
Lions is the highest scoring game of last week. Anybody predict that one?
No. Was it them?
It was.
It wasn't the Chiefs and it wasn't the Chiefs and Cardinals?
No, the Cardinals didn't hold up their end. They had 65. It was 73 for the Eagles and Lions.
Oh, nice. Well, good for them.
Huge game spread there. Look, both offenses came out and put on a bit of a good show in week one. You had 4 touchdowns from Carson Wentz. The Jaguars were able to keep pace. This is another game that I like to be sneaky good from a points perspective and sneaky good from a fantasy perspective based on what we saw in week one. Eagles hung 38 on the Lions. Jaguars put up 22 on the Commanders. And, you had fantasy productivity all around in these games. So, Carson Wentz, if you need a quarterback stream because maybe you lost Dak, I'm streaming him a couple places. 300-plus yards, 4 touchdown performance, rolling 3 viable receivers out there, plus a running back who he got very involved in the receiving game. You could do a lot worse than that. I think that you've got touchdown upside with Dodson. You can go ahead and chase the productivity from Curtis Samuel, and Antonio Gibson's firmly going to be an RB2, especially given that receiving upside on the Commanders side. On the Lions side, Amon-Ra picked up right where he left off. He's not going to give you a lot of boom, but he is highly efficient. DJ Chark is going to see some work in this one, and I think that a similar stat line is not out of the realm of possibility there. And Deandre Swift, monster game. It's an ankle injury. It's early in the week. Keep an eye on that as the week progresses. But there's a lot of guys, in training camp that were banged up. That's going to continue through the first couple weeks of the season. So don't be super concerned there. If anything is wrong, obviously Jamal Williams is a plug-and-play handcuff. But, yeah, I think this game is actually sneaky good from a fantasy perspective based on what we saw in week 1.
I hope it holds off like that. Because especially in DFS, you got Jared Goff coming at $5,400 compared to Carson Wentz at $5,800. So who would you guys feel better playing with on that one?
I'd probably go Wentz.
It'd be Wentz. I mean, if you're building game stacks here, you're obviously going to play on both sides. You can, if you're going to build, from the Goff's perspective, I'm sure it'll be a little bit cheaper. Not a game. I personally wouldn't target this game heavily, but I definitely want some exposure to it.
Yeah. The one player I'd definitely go after would be TJ Hawkinson. He's coming in at 4,700. He's probably the one I'd really go after just because based on value. Because everyone else kind of goes like, DJ Chark's 5,100, then Amon-Ra St. Brown's kind of priced out of range where I feel comfortable playing at 6,500.
He's 65.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So he's getting
it's got to be
now.
top 15, and it sounds good, but it's getting a little bit. It depends on the players in this range. We don't got to go too deep into it, but
what's Chark at?
Shark's at 5,100.
Actually,
he's still affordable.
I don't hate that.
Yeah,
but the better value I think would be on the other side is getting Curtis Samuel at 4,600.
Oh yeah, 100%. Especially if you get that target volume again.
Yeah, and the junior type of like Deebo Samuel runs. Like if they ever get anywhere near that close to that goal line, and they don't have Antonio Gibson to run it in, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Curtis Samuel to do it.
That's true.
Could be. All right, moving on. Jets at the Browns. Browns 6.5-point favorites. 40.5 is the game total here. I don't see how the Browns are getting this much points with just Jacoby. I take the Jets to cover this game, and I'd stay away from the game totals. Pretty ugly. Not entirely sure how the game script is going to go based on what Vegas thinks. It should be Cleveland, pretty comfortably. But after what we saw against Carolina, I don't know how anyone can think that they should have any games favored with Brissett over even 3.5. This is, I'll take the little bit of the gift the Jets give here. Who looked kind of competitive before the game got out of reach against Baltimore. It wasn't the worst looking game at halftime.
Yeah. Fantasy wise for this one, we'll start with the Jets side. Both backs, especially in PPR. Flacco's going to target the hell out of those checkdowns, especially against the Browns. Defense. It's pretty decent. There's going to be a good amount of that going on. I don't want to chase the wide receivers for the Jets. We just talked about Corey Davis, but like I mentioned, the Browns do have a decent defense. Flacco not necessarily going to be tearing it up on the outside. You did get a solid game from Corey Davis last week, but it wasn't anything to write home about, and you can afford. It's not going to be anything where you're like, oh my God, I sat him. I feel bad that I sat him. On the Brown side, I do think you could see similar target volume for Peoples-Jones if you believe that connection is real. I do like that start a little bit more than Corey Davis. And other than that, it's the running backs. Pretty lackluster game. Basically, you got 4 running backs in this one that you can start, though. So that's good, right?
Yes.
Yeah, DFS is the same perspective. The only thing I'm going after would be the Jets, and it's Carter and Hall. $5,200 a piece. So we can move on to the next game on this one. I don't have anything else to do with it.
Hunt and Chubb are going to be priced up. So
Yeah, they're over. Hunt's the cheapest at 6,600. So
before we move on, question. Yes, finally.
hooray.
Love ourselves some questions. This is from Kevin D. He's asking if he should trade Antonio Gibson and Christian Kirk for CeeDee Lamb. Right now, he has Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews, Jalen Waddle, Godwin, and T. Higgins. It's a 2-point PPR league, 10-team league.
I like the idea of trading Antonio Gibson in the first handful of weeks before Brian Robinson gets back. I don't know that I like giving up both of them for CeeDee Lamb with an injured Dak early on, and that's a short-sighted take, though. But, even before Dak got hurt, I don't know. It is a top 10 wide receiver, but I also still feel like with Jacksonville playing from behind, Christian Kirk is a sneaky, top 14, 15 wide receiver.
I just don't think Lamb is the underperforming receiver, and he didn't really underperform. He just lost his starting quarterback that I want to target. I mean, I don't hate the fact that I don't think Brian Robinson is going to be much of a thing to Gibson. Even when he comes back early on, it's got to take a bit. We have no clue if he'll even be back before week 5. The encouragement of Gibson in a pretty neutral game script, even with a healthy J.D. McKissick,
I would sell Gibson after this week. I think he's going to go up again on the Lions, and I think
if he goes up,
more value.
Why would you sell Gibson, especially if Robinson's not going to be back till at least week 5, and even if he does come back, because he's going to be this productive in a neutral game. I know he's not playing Jacksonville every week, but it's like, he dominated the carries and he dominated the targets.
Well, yeah, because there's no Brian Robinson, and Brian
Robinson's not going to take the targets away. That's not going to that'd be McKissick's role.
That would be McKissick, but are we just going to forget the whole preseason narrative? Because it's not like the Pierce narrative where that fell off, right? I mean, dude got shot in the legs. You don't know where the hell they were going with it. So
fine, but he still has to recover. Like he's so.
Right.
Sadly enough, he still got shot in the leg.
Right now, everything I've seen says that week 5 is very realistic. Now, does he come back and immediately get on that? No. But Gibson was in the doghouse, right? You don't want to wait until it's too late, because even if he's not a huge threat, he's gonna get into it a lot. Now, I agree with you. I don't hate this trade, but I don't necessarily like this trade right now, because I think there's going to be a point where you can probably pull at least another player back on the other side with Gibson and Kirk included in that. I like CeeDee Lamb. He's not up at elite tier, though, and basically what you're giving up for that right now is, RB2 high-end wide receiver 2. I don't know. It is an even trade, I guess. But I feel like the value on Gibson's going to go higher over the next couple weeks.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're going to move Gibson, moving him after this week's not the move. You're going to still get the value in return till at least week 5. So week 4 would be where you start looking to make that move. Week 3 at the earliest, at least see, because he can only keep rising if he keeps performing well, and then it's going to be, you're going to get even higher value. You're going to be able to move on to somebody that's a little bit safer and have a higher ceiling than CeeDee Lamb. And, I don't hate people wanting to move off Kurt, for the chance to really, really, value boom it. And he said that he's looking for it, as a long-term play.
It's true.
Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon are his running backs. Aaron Jones, I'm not concerned, but the fact that his one role that he was supposed to dominate over Dylan,
he didn't.
Dylan actually had over him in his target share. That's
a little scary now.
Something to monitor. So I wouldn't trade Gibson now, but I don't hate the fact that you want to try to move up from it, but yeah, I just don't think Lamb's the guy I want to target. As much as I love Lamb, that Dallas offense is going to be bad.
Yeah, I don't. Short term, and I think that's where I'm struggling here, right? Because it doesn't feel lopsided to me. Looking at it short term, it's like, okay, that might be a little ugly. Looking at that long term, that could end up really, really good, especially when, if Dak gets back and Lamb has, some semblance of the season he was last year, and, Robinson gets back.
What the fuck?
Robinson gets back and Gibson falls off. So,
that and it's like you still got to win those games too if you make that trade. I mean, he lost Godwin. Potentially, you may lose, Higgins. It's depth can go very quickly when you start making 2-for-1 deals, which is a great move to make, but more later
move to make when you're not losing people to injury. When you're losing people to injury, you need your depth, and your roster gets less deep and less flexible by shipping those two out.
Yeah, just
it gets more top heavy.
Yeah, it's a good move to make trade deadline when you're trying to, when you can, like, even if you inch into the playoffs, it doesn't matter. You made your team better. After week 1, where you still have a lot of regular season fantasy to play and you're losing players already. Yeah.
This is something I would revisit closer to, week 4, week 5 time frame.
Yeah.
Take the value right now, you can get it.
Moving on. Good question, and keep them on there. We'll be on here every, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, primarily Wednesday. For your questions. Thanks, Kevin. Bucks at the Saints. Bucks 2.5-point favorites on the road. 44.5 is the game total. I feel like Saints at home. We know that Brady has, I guess, struggled in the couple years he's played with the Bucks against the Saints. For whatever reason, he just can't beat them in New Orleans. Not going to fall into that narrative, though. Saints looked impressive-ish. Offense looked better. The defense giving up that many points to Atlanta has me a little concerned. I don't think the loss of Godwin's should make this that close of a spread. I'll take Tampa Bay in the points, but I kind of like the over. If the Saints are going to show up on offense that well, 44.5 points feels like a good marker. This game should be implied close, so I'll take Tampa Bay in the spread, and I'll take the over.
Yeah, for this one, the Bucks, kind of a lackluster performance against a very, very good Dallas defense, except, from a points total perspective anyway. But, Godwin was on a pretty decent pace. Julio had a couple big plays, and Fournette was on a absolute tear. So for this one, I think you just run it back with your Bucks offense. Cordero Patterson tore them up on the ground, and that's great news for Leonard Fournette, who's a much better running back.
Yeah.
You're go ahead and run Julio, go ahead and run Evans, and potentially even Russell Gage, because my take on this also is that if the Saints offense, who is going to get a better defense this time, can produce, then this game's going to be close. For the Saints, you could make the argument to put both Thomas and Landry back in, and I think that you do. I think that you chase that after what you saw from them, because they were both productive. Let them shit the bed, but those were both good enough performances to where you don't want those riding on your bench if, that is for real, that they're going to have 2 productive wide receivers every week. Other than that, it's Kamara from them. I'm not quite ready to look at Jameis as a streamer, especially given how good the Tampa Bay secondary is. But I don't think you can risk having a Landry or a Thomas performance like last week sitting on your bench. So you start both of them.
Well, definitely Thomas.
And that's the same perspective in like DFS too. The way you said with the wide receivers of Thomas and Landry, I would exactly put them in too, because you got Michael Thomas coming in at 5,800 and Landry at a freaking astonishing like 5,000. So he's an easy plug and play right away if you think that momentum will continue, because he led the team in targets and yards in that game last week. So if you think that can keep going on with Jameis Winston, I mean, why not? You could easily get 20 points out of that, and that's a hell of a return on value. And then looking at the other side, I'd probably go Julio Jones at 5,500, just based again on once again what he did last week. We're trying to run off base off what we all saw in week 1. So bear with us on this part because it's kind of hard trying to piece it all together until we have more weekly history going along here.
Right, and you see what they do against good defenses and bad defenses, and that's the thing with the Saints offense. Played a bad defense. We know what their defense is because they played, or, trending at least, because they played what should have been a bad offense, right? And got especially torn up on the ground. But, so that's good news for Fournette. But yeah, the Saints offense, this is going to kind of be a test to say, all right, where are they really going to be?
I agree. All right, we got a question again. JD.
What's up, JD?
What's up, buddy? Ryan, Lions
Hello,
fan
JD.
over here. I'm sure you know.
Oh, that JD.
That
Yeah, that
JD.
JD.
JD Hunter.
I
boy.
know that JD.
That
now.
JD.
He
yeah.
might actually rival you on long-term listener. He definitely beats you on asking questions, but you're on the show, so it's okay. His question
I've
is,
trumped him now.
yeah. His question is, Raheem Mostert or Tyler Boyd in PPR? And I think it's pretty easy to me.
It's Boyd.
It's
Boyd.
Boyd.
Higgins, we're unsure. He's limited in practice. I don't know if he's made it through concussion protocol yet.
He hasn't.
He hasn't.
But even if he does, I think it's still
Matchup would lean
Boyd.
towards Boyd. Seattle
Yeah.
or Cincinnati gets Dallas on the road, and Miami gets Baltimore. Look, the Jets, 19 targets to running backs is great. I don't think that's just because they played Baltimore. And it was the Chase Edmonds show also in Miami. So I think it's Boyd pretty easily. All right. Moving on. Panthers at the Giants. Giants. Favorites. 1.5. They get the road.
Oh, good Lord.
They get the home advantage on the spread here. 43.5 is the game total. Baker's rival game or his revenge game got spoiled late, but look, he also didn't look the sharpest. The whole Panthers team did not look great, but this is probably going to be the battle of the running backs and Barkley and McCaffrey. I don't know who wins this game. I don't. I think Dabble is the reason why the Giants are even favorite. I'm going to take the under. I think there's going to be a lot of running of the football, a lot of bleeding of the clock. Both teams, I know the Panthers had a big play from Robbie Anderson, who is now hurt potentially. Both teams don't live off big plays, what the running backs do. In games like this, it could be a while to even see a big explosive play. So I like the under. No fucking clue who wins. None. The Panthers money lines plus 108. If you want to just take a stab in the dark, but I wouldn't.
There's real ugly outside of the running backs in this one.
Yeah.
DJ Moore, not a great game. You don't know what that chemistry is going to look like with Baker. Robbie Anderson did have a good game, but he has those from time to time, and it's just kind of fluky. So, we know that with Robbie Anderson now. He will string a couple of those together, and then he'll just disappear. So, look.
He's gone.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, if you want to chase the Robbie Anderson targets because you picked him up on waivers as a plug-in, I like it better than what you could pick up from the Chargers if you lost Keenan Allen, in that 1-for-1 type of replacement. I can endorse doing that given how he performed as long as he's healthy. Other than that, and that's a fringe play for me, Robbie Anderson is. Other than that, just give me the running backs.
I will say this, and this is because I'm looking at these numbers I pull from playerprofile.com. Shout out to playerprofile.com. DJ Moore ran 100% of the routes.
I'm not shocked by
How
that.
many routes do you think he ran?
On 100% of the routes?
No, just guess. In a game that Carolina was playing from behind through most, how many routes do you think he ran?
41.
No.
29.
Less.
21?
Less than 29.
Yes. 27 routes. In a
Holy
game
crap.
in which they were playing from behind throughout, and he ran 100%. So Robbie Anderson could not like he can't go higher.
No.
That's a problem in a game in which like that's something to keep an eye on. If he's not even getting a chance to get target, no, again, 6 targets on 27 routes, decent target rate. It's they have to increase. So it means the Cardinals is not throwing the football enough. Even when they're
they
playing
may
behind,
not have to. Yeah, that's the other thing too in this game, right?
Yeah,
they might not have to. Just let McCaffrey and Barkley run the whole game, and it's probably going to be more entertaining.
He might be, man, I didn't think it'd be that bad, but 27 routes. Oof. Sorry. Ryan, go ahead.
I'm not really hopping on this game at all. If you really want, like, if
running backs, move on.
Yeah, no, it's not even that. It's like,
those guys are going to be expensive as shit.
Yeah, but
like,
they're going to be.
If you want to build around that,
they should eat though.
And cash, you can play both. You're playing naked McCaffrey and Barkley. God, I just love saying.
Oh
that. Yeah. You wouldn't play
you're
you're not game sacking this game, like right? You're just
no, you're not throwing DJ Moore in there at 5,700 at all. It's like no, it's like I don't want to play anyone. I really play it safe.
God, you can even play the Giants defense.
Yeah.
The Giants defense, fine. Ryan, how much is the Giants defense in this game?
Ooh, going streaking on this one.
It can't be higher than. It can't be higher. It's got to be like.
I bet it's below 3,700.
It's like, and
I think every defense
Baker.
is below 3,700.
As much as we love our boy Baker,
the Giants are 3,200.
Boom. The Giants and the running backs.
The Panthers are 3,000.
Captain Fumble, Daniel Jones. I mean,
he can trip himself on the way to the end zone.
Neither one's a bad play.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right, let's move on.
Go to something else.
I don't know if this is even it's not worse, but I hate both teams. Patriots at the Steelers. Patriots on the road. Yeah. Patriots on the road is 2.5-point favorites. 40.5 is the game total. Mac Jones logged, I believe, a full practice today with the back concerns. Pittsburgh's offense looked pretty terrible throughout that game. Najee's got a foot problem. I'm avoiding this game. I don't want to bet it at all. Not because I hate both teams. I don't trust either team, and I need a little more information before I put any money on this. And the game total is probably perfect at 40.
Right?
Najee's
got a foot problem, but you're playing him because of where you drafted him still. He says he's good to go. Deontay Johnson should be fine from a volume perspective. You're not desperate enough in most cases to play Jacoby Myers, although the floor should be okay. Patriots backs. I mean, Stevenson and Harris both have RB3 flex value. This is a void for me too in fantasy if you can.
It's not.
There's nothing. There's nothing great here outside of the running backs and Deontay Johnson, and I think all of them stand to be, position group 2 or lower.
Yeah, this is not even like DFS, right? I think you may agree. There's nothing to play here either because you can't you can play Najee, in your seasonal leagues. You don't have to play him in your DFS lineup.
No, the only one I would actually temper playing, maybe sprinkle one just to say what the hell, let's see what happens with him. It's Jacoby Myers, just because, per usual, he's leading the team in targets, leading them in yardage, just allergic to the fucking end zone.
But leading the
he's
team
got
in
no
targets,
ceiling.
Yeah, leading the team in targets is 6 targets
six.
And 50 some odd yards, and that's my problem with it. You're right.
Yeah,
you say
he's almost
27 routes. 27 routes in the game. They were down the entire time.
Yeah.
You say no lies. You say no lies about Jacoby Myers. I love Jacoby Myers.
You and I love him the same.
6 targets for 55 yards is his ceiling.
He's not a touchdown scorer.
He just needs a touchdown. He just needs a touchdown.
He doesn't score touctouchdowns, Ryan. That's
I know. He's
problem.
allergic to it. That was his,
He's infamous for not getting into the end zone.
But that's just it. When the Patriots think, we're zigging, they're gonna zag, and he's gonna freaking blow up. And be like,
fine. It's gonna be who's the RB3? He's the guy that's gonna score all the touchdowns, and they're gonna beat the Pittsburgh by double-digit points.
JJ Taylor.
Yeah, someone you never heard of.
I think JJ Taylor's hurt. I don't know. Anyways, we're moving on.
They're gonna sign Kevin Harris on Thursday, and he'll score 4 touchdowns. On
Actually,
Sunday.
Pat Freiermuth had 10 targets. I don't hate that.
Ooh,
I don't hate that.
fine.
There's a play for you. Pat Freiermuth had double-digit targets.
He found you. Both defenses.
I found one.
Even though I don't like Pittsburgh without Watt. All right. Colts at the Jaguars. Colts 4.5-point favorites.
God, something more intriguing.
44.5 is the game total. Looked bad. Looked a little bit lost. Again, one of those teams that didn't play a lot of their starters in preseason.
New quarterback.
I expect them to play better. With the chemistry being stronger, first game out the way, and it's fucking Jacksonville. I think the Colts win this game. 4.5, I think, is a fair spread. Maybe it's a little too low even. I like the game total. The 44.5. I like the over there. We know Jacksonville has enough playmakers to hang some points on there. And while Lawrence hasn't looked particularly great to start his career, he's been passable and serviceable. So I think this is the Colts in the over would be where I feel most comfortable with.
Pittman Taylor on the Colts side. There's nothing cute there. Jacksonville side. Christian Kirk had 12 targets and over 100 yards. You're absolutely running that one back. Yeah. I don't hate Zay Jones again this week just because game script wise, he's somebody that you could flex in if you lost a guy. Same thing with Etienne and Robinson. They're going to get their run. They're going to get their split. And there's going to be target volume there. So you can run it back with all your Jaguars if you really want to. Rex Burkhead had a decent game in this one. So, that lends well to those two guys.
If you would have read my weekly piece or my first week of DraftKings bargain bids, you would have played Michael Pittman last week at 5,500. This week, we are passing on him, though. He's up to 6,700 now. There is no way I'm putting him in a lineup at that kind of price. That almost sounds like a duck.
That's not bad. Hey,
6,700?
He's the entire passing offense, and it's Jacksonville.
Yeah, but I play the values. I don't play the high dollar. I don't play him at value. I like to pay.
He's a good value in cash because he's a high target play with no competition, and it's Jacksonville.
No, give me the other side of the ball. I will take Christian Kirk.
You
at
can have both. This is a game you want to build on. This is a game you can sprinkle a little exposure on.
You can build a whole lineup on this one.
Oh, I want to go that crazy.
Well, you could. I'm just saying you could do one.
I mean, in theory, you can build a whole lineup on any game. It just might not be a great idea.
Generally not. Yeah.
It's the 200. The single one that doesn't cost a thing. You just want to see what happens.
I think 6,700 Bateman, or I think $6,700 Pittman's still a value, man. I love that. Love it.
I don't know. I just can't do it.
How many wide receivers are above them? Just don't have to read them all if there's a lot, but just guess how many. Based on a skim through, how many wide receivers are above them in costs?
8. So is there a wide receiver one?
Is he a wide receiver? Is he a low-end wide receiver one for fantasy? Hopper, do you think he's a low-end wide receiver one for fantasy?
Yes, I do think he is.
I think Pittman's completely fine. But I understand if
he's not going to dud the value, but the definition of values is he going to outperform it. If you tell me he's a wide receiver 8 at the end of this week, I would probably say, yeah, that's about right. And if you told me he was higher, I would say, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah,
if you told me he's lower, I'm going to say, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
So,
but you can't.
It still feels like it's his floor this week.
It's
but when you look at when you try to play these DFS games, you're looking to try to get 3, 4, or 5 times these values. So you're hoping at least he scores at least.
You still need guys
19,
that can actually
you
score you
points.
The
lineup a bit, yeah.
Absolutely. Anchor. That's a great phrase. Great word. Hop. You still need your studs in there. And he can still 3 times that value.
You differentiate at the end, and you're like, all right, need to start being a little cheap. Who do we got here?
Yeah,
that's when you go. That's when Ryan Miner's value article comes in play.
That's where Ryan earns the big bucks. All right, moving on. Miami at Baltimore. Baltimore 3.5-point favorites at home. 44.5 is the game total. Miami getting a little respect here, only being 3.5-point dogs here. Both teams look good. Both teams had their had some struggles. I'll lean the home team if I want to bet the spread. I like the game total. I like the over here. Both defenses I don't think are quite up to speed. Baltimore is already battling secondary injuries and offensive line injuries in which they cannot afford to have. Love the over. And now I'm liking Miami when I say it right after I said that. I actually like Miami plus 3.5 and I like the over.
Excuse me. Yeah, I like Miami here a bit too. Tyreek Hill's going to be just fine in this one. I think Jalen Waddle will be as well. We saw against the Ravens last week that, Corey Davis did have himself a good day. Elijah Moore, decent floor. So, I think that you put a couple more talented wide receivers out there in this one that they are going to produce. As far as the running game here, look, we did see a lot of checkdowns to backs last week to Jets backs last week against the Ravens. Like Dan said, it's not necessarily a fault on the Ravens so much as it is the way that the Jets were just playing. You are going to get a healthy dose of Chase Edmonds. Don't get cute with Mostert. He didn't see a lot of work last week. So, Ravens side of this, stay tuned to Sunday to see if Dobbins plays. If not, it's going to be Kenyon Drake again. If he does, there's going to be this weird mismatch of them probably trying to ease him back in, and I would stay away from all of that entirely. What you can count on here, obviously Jackson, obviously Andrews, and then, Myers was fine as a slot play. So, as hard as this, we just say Duvernay based on the target volume, watch list him because this could be another decent week.
Yep. And then from DraftKings, I would still go Chase Edmonds again because once again, he didn't go up in value or down. He stayed right at 5,200 this week.
Yeah.
So if we're expecting a game script where like how the Jets had, where it's getting a bunch of checkdowns, Tua was doing checkdowns to Edmonds in the preseason at the end there, so we could actually see that again. And the Tua also isn't a bad deal. Also at 5,600, if you want to build around that, if you want to go expensive wide receiver, you want to go elite wide receiver, elite running back, you want to try to build that stack. That's another good cheap quarterback. And then another good wide receiver still to go with. I'm not going to give up Rashard Bateman yet. I'm still on him. He's at 5,500. I'm willing to still throw him in one more time.
I'm fine with yeah. That's
No issues with any of that.
All right.
Beer review.
I guess I should ask. That was the last noon game, right?
Yeah, I was about to tell you. Perfect. Love it.
Beer review.
What happens when I doubt myself? All right, I got one tiddlywink of beer left, so I'm going to go ahead and take it.
I'm out, but go ahead. I got a little aggressive, I guess.
I did too, which means it was a good beer. As this one tends to be. It's got a nice, chewy caramel note to it. There's a good back end of dark chocolate. It's bold. It's not overly roasty, which is good because browns aren't supposed to be. It's got a little bit of a toast flavor, though, to balance out that chewy caramel, dark chocolate. Kind of a semi-sweet bitter there. Very drinkable, very refreshing. It's not heavy like a stout. It's got all sorts of beautiful, just kind of, sweet, or balanced towards sweet type of flavors. Aftertaste just kind of hangs out there. Got nice medium full body that there's a little chewiness to it, but not in a drying way. Very good beer from Heavy Riff. Very, very good. I don't remember this beer being this good, actually.
I had it on Monday when on Monday when Sean's last day in town. I had it at Sky Lounge on draft. Maybe it was because I should have changed glasses. For me it wasn't as impressive, but I've had it enough where I know Velvet Underground is a very good beer. So blame me for it. But anyways, Ryan, before you go, I'm gonna do mine real quick. Again, I drank all of my Odell, so I can't give the super fun, version of this, but it's a Marzen. It's an American Marzen, more than less. So it's going to be more on the sweet end. The malt is going to definitely kick through It's very drinkable. It's very light. It doesn't, chew too much. It doesn't really get to you too much. It's a very easy drinking on the slight sweeten, for your Marzens, which is the typical style Oktoberfest you're going to get from a lot of American breweries. So one you can get in most places. Odell is a very popular brewery, from a national perspective. So pick yourself up some Odell's Marzen and you won't be disappointed.
And I had Seagram 7 Crown and 7 Up, also known as 7 and 7, which Seagram 7 Crown is an American whiskey, which I always like to mix. It's my favorite like mixer to have, like no matter what time of the year it is, 'cause it's just smooth, crisp, refreshing. It's an inexpensive bottle too. The whiskey bottle is like, I think I pay like $13.99 for it. So for a cheap whiskey and a nice 7 Up, something I like to go to. And it's nothing that's like, it's something that's always in my bar no matter what. So don't be surprised you see it on here again, because I probably will be drinking it at least however many more times I'm ever on here until the end.
Brian, I think you'll be in the show for.
I'm a lifer.
Yeah. All right, we got another question. God, I love it. Keep the questions going up. This is
see what I did on
it's you
on Twitter.
It's literally you.
You.
Yeah, it's not hot. It's definitely
Has
not
nothing
me.
to do with me putting fantasy football in the YouTube title, so it's findable now.
Love it. All right, this is from Jacob Sabatula. Sorry if I pronounced that. I believe this is the first time I've
Dan's
seen
the worst person to be pronouncing.
I am
names.
literally the last person you want pronouncing anything of question. So his question is, this is a possible trade he's looking to make.
Yeah.
We're going to go through his team. He lists off the highlights from each team, his team and the guy that he's potentially going to trade with. On his team, Brady, Diggs, Evans, Derrick Henry, Dobbins, Darren Waller, Higgins, Miles Sanders on the bench. Other guys' team: Mike Williams, Robert Woods, Barkley, Delvin Cook, Darrell Henderson, and Chase Edmonds.
You guys got to go out of running.
Yeah, his question is, should I use Higgins and Sanders in a trade to move up to try to go get what I'm guessing is Barkley or Cook? He says bigger running back, which I don't think you put Henderson in that category. This is not actual size. It's just, fantasy output. And Edmonds just hasn't reached that plateau yet. I don't think he will. It just doesn't get the full on usage.
Well, and I'm not sure after week 1 that Henderson or Edmonds is necessarily an upgrade over Sanders either. So,
and
who had a really good week, who had a pretty decent week 1 by his standards.
I actually like Sanders if he's now finding the end zone and an improved Philly offense. I don't think you're going to be able to get Saquon for that. You would have to probably give up Diggs, maybe Evans in that, or try to move Henry or Dobbins. Also, I like where your head's at.
I do too. I would throw Higgins and Sanders out there at Cook and see how that goes. And use that as a starting point and just let the guy know, hey, this is my starting offer. Let me know if we need to adjust or talk from there. You're in a unique position where it's a good position where you've got two teams with a glut at one position or the other. You guys are positioned to help each other out so you can make something work there. I think upgrading over Sanders is absolutely the right move because after week 1, he has value, but you can go out and get somebody better than that. And you know what? It turns it down. It's fine because you maintain that depth. And if Sanders continues to perform, that value is only going to go up. But I would throw that out there as a starter at Dalvin Cook and see where it goes from there.
The only hiccup would be where Higgins is at right now. That might be your biggest hiccup. And
is he out 1? Is he out 2?
I would almost foot out Evans and Sanders and see if I can go after. Like I would throw that out for Cook. And eat the Evans loss by adding in an elite running back potentially. But even start at Barkley and see what happens. I know Barkley's coming off of his huge week hard to trade for a guy because I'm assuming this is redraft, so you can't throw out draft picks there. But
You're trading for the RB1 right now too.
yeah, it'd be tough.
That's a hard
gonna
one
be
to do.
real hard. That's why
But
I said go down to Cooks, because reaching at Barkley right now is like you're gonna
King ransom.
you're gonna overpay. That's gonna be King's
he's got
ransom.
Diggs. It depends. Do you want elite
Yeah,
receiver or elite running back?
But if I'm looking at his team, I don't want to give up Diggs. Is my problem.
No.
I agree.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna go for someone's number 1 or 2, that is either Barkley or Cook. Like Cook is the one I agree with because he had the quiet week and what should have been a neutral game script. You expect maybe a little more points, but
And I think the combination of Sanders and Higgins, because those aren't unusable pieces, right? Most weeks those are, Higgins for sure, and potentially Sanders if the trajectory stays the same. You're coming off an up week, are going to be valuable pieces to have. So does the summation of them equal Dalvin Cook? And especially with the recency bias, I think that you're probably pretty close. You
Who
might
would you
need
rather
to adjust
have?
it, but
Who would you rather have, Hopper and Ryan? Evans or Higgins in redraft right now?
probably
I'm still going Evans.
I would think I would go Higgins.
Because that's where you can make your argument.
And you
Which
could,
one of these receivers would you want to throw at?
Yeah, and I
Cook?
do that a lot too. Give them the option. Say, hey, start that conversation. Say, hey, I'm interested in Cook. Would Sanders and then one of Evans or Higgins, because they're close in value, get it done? And, he may value one more than the other by a good amount.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier to find wide receiver, flex plays than running backs, obviously.
Yep.
He's also asking if he should chill. So there is the option to wait.
Yeah.
Wait for some Higgins news. You don't have to make a move after week 1. You still have a lot of regular season fantasy left.
The risk that you make with chilling on this one, though, I think, is that Dalvin Cook pops off a big week and Sanders falls off.
Yeah.
So I'm a little less tepid. I don't think chill's the right move here if you want to get it done with Sanders being a piece, because we know he has the potential to fall off.
Yeah. I do like the aim for Cook.
Yeah, aim for Cook.
I do like that.
Because then the worst thing that happens is they say instead of you trying to say, well, I'm just chilling. So then you had that what if I would have offered and would have accepted. I could have had this player.
You can even try to get cute, find the guy that AJ Dillon. Not make the same trade, but
if they tell you no, like that's the worst they're gonna say is no, I won't do it, and then
I'm good.
Fine, right? The wave of Miles
move on.
Sanders and Higgins when he gets paid back and revisit this, because you still have that value. But if you're looking to get something done for Sanders, I hesitate to say outright just chill, because he's coming off a good week, and those have been few and far between the last couple seasons, especially with his health.
If thankfully he found the end zone, the problem is every other running back in that team found the end zone as well.
All of them did, but Sanders much higher yardage total.
Yeah, I still like Sanders. If you want to wait a week, there's always risk in waiting, but Higgins can also go off, and that'll give you a little more fuel if you're looking to balance out your team.
Or Evans, depending on
or
which.
Evans goes off, especially they're playing the Saints. It should be a harder match.
But the flip side,
but
why there's risk? The flip side is that Cook goes off.
Yeah,
Right.
it's and maybe Cook becomes a different question. So,
And then next thing you know, Evans, because he's historically bad against the Saints, he has a bad game, and then you're wishing you would have traded him at the high point that he just had.
he just asked about Connor too. He's looking at teams now. Poor wide receiver core guy is James Conner. I'm a little timid. I wouldn't move for James Conner. I don't
know that's a
I don't know how much of an upgrade he's an upgrade over Sanders, but
a giant upgrade.
but
You're looking
that's
to go
not
a little higher than
Man,
Cook. You
is
can
it?
maybe knock on the door with Eckler, who's coming off a down week.
Yeah, like
I don't know how high
Really.
McCaffrey went in your league, but he's coming off of a down week with plenty of people that are down on him after the injury-riddled seasons. Javonta Williams just saw a ton of receiving work. So there's some other options you can go knock on there too. Hell, Leonard Fournette's coming off of a 100-yard week and about to follow it up with another one, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So
He
you
asked-
got options.
You mentioned Kamara.
Kamara's another good one that you could go knock on the door for that has, big upside, especially if that Saints offense with some receiving help continues to tick.
Well, plus if that whole is it a knee injury or a calf injury he has?
Yeah, I think.
Is it knee?
Who, Kamara?
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
as. Some
people are very iffy on it, so people are like thinking. I've already seen, do I bench Kamara this week because of his injury? So I wouldn't. Why not even sprinkle out for him for a little bit?
It's an upgrade, though.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But again, we can talk about this Sunday too. Jacob and everyone else who's listening will be Sunday live stream should be back with Hopper. Hopefully not busy and me not having friends in town.
Hopper's driving back from Kentucky in the morning, but I should be here about 10:30 or so.
So
I will be at football once again.
Ryan will handle the Twitter questions. Hopefully,
but
we get them.
Good question, and your head's absolutely in the right spot.
Oh yeah.
All right, 3:00 games.
4:00
Atlanta
games.
at the Rams. Rams are 10.5-point favorites. We are now into the realm of double-digit point spreads. 45.5 is the game total. Rams coming off of a embarrassing week. Atlanta coming off of kind of an impressive week. Given where they were at. Still, 10.5 is a lot of points. I do expect the Rams to turn around, but that's a huge, even against a bad Atlanta team
this early in the season.
It's still large double digit. We still don't quite know who the Rams are because of what they showed against Buffalo. I would stay clear of this game, because I can easily see them beating the Falcons by double digit points. That's how good this team is on paper. I just don't love it. Game total is at a very iffy spot. I would probably just ignore this game. If I'm betting anything, I would lean Atlanta to cover 10.5 though.
Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, if there ever was a get-right game for the Rams, this is it. We just talked about what Atlanta gave up to the Saints wide receivers. So, if you want to run it back with Allen Robinson, I'm looking at this one and saying Thomas just had 2 touchdowns and 54 yards. Landry just put up triple digits receiving against this. Robinson should be able to get it done. Obviously, Kupp, Henderson, obviously. We already talked about staying away from Akers on that side of the ball. The other side of this one with the Falcons, we talked about Marietta as a streaming option, given what Josh Allen was able to do. I don't hate Marietta as a streaming option here. Rams defense was a little out of sorts, especially with Jalen Ramsey. Cordero Patterson, go ahead and chase that. He did have the majority of the work there. Receivers, we're still kind of waiting to figure out what the Falcons are going to be in the receiving game. So, I would, London had a nice game, 5 for 74. So, plug him in if you need to. But he's also going to get a tough test this week.
Ryan? For DraftKings, sorry. I'll say for a DraftKings perspective, I was looking at Marcus Mariota at 5,600, just more because of the Konami code side of him, because he had 72 yards rushing last week alone. So I think he'll be able to push that 100 yards, and the 100-yard bonus from DraftKings is nice. You get additional 3 points for that. So I look kind of at that. And then Drake London, he had 5 receptions, but he also had 7 targets. He's coming in at 5,200. And then if you really feel ballsy enough to do it, throw in Kyle Pitts also at 5,400 this week.
My issue with London is he's about to get what should be. I know Ramsey got kind of torched last week, but
he got toasted.
Yeah, but it's still rookie wide receiver about to go up against historically one of the best cornerbacks. So
is it going to be him or is it going to be Pitts? So I think he might
Ramsey,
go on Pitts.
I think Ramsey only plays one side of the field, but I don't know that Ramsey slides inside that much. I think it'll be London.
I'm gonna look at Pitts' slot rate.
I think he has 7 targets too.
22% slot rate. So I think he's gonna. I mean, he's not playing a lot of inline.
Yeah,
he only ran 19 routes.
19 routes though.
He will block. That's still
Well, that's the other thing you have to-
God, it's weird.
That's the other thing you have to worry about with Pitts too, right? Rams will blitz.
Yeah, it's a waste. They should. I mean, one would think they should never waste him on there. 7 targets, 19 routes it's great, obviously, but we like to see a little more participation in that. This game you would think would yield that. Should. I would assume Ramsey would be on London more. I would also assume that he won't shadow. There's nothing that Pitts and London have done that he would ever shadow. So if anything, he'll probably play London more than Pitts, but I'm sure there'll be some plays where he's lined up on Pitts if he's playing on the outside. All right. Oh, Ryan. Any more DFS? That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. See, let's move to a game with the same narrative. Seahawks at the Niners. Niners are 8.5-point favorites at home. 41.5. Look, Niners look terrible.
We're also playing in a monsoon.
Yeah, they're also in a monsoon. You can't take a lot away from that game. Seattle played offensively, had one good half.
7 targets for Metcalf, 39.
Yeah. That offense
for 7 though.
That offense didn't do shit in the second half. It was all, Geno Smith first. So I actually like the Niners in this bounce back. I'm not betting it because I need a little more information. I'll wait a week. The game total is what makes me nervous. I think I would still go the under. I don't think Seattle scores a touchdown in this game. And now you're trying to add back in Kenneth Walker. Geno played one good half of football, had that good saying that I didn't write him back. Like, that's fun, Geno. Good for you, buddy. Now here's Nick Bosa. And here's the rest of the Niners pass rush. I don't think they score much, but 8.5 is a lot of points for an offense that looked pretty bad, regardless of weather conditions. And Lance looked very much inconsistent, but that was only his 16th career game, dating back to high school. So it's not like there's still a lot of growth to him, but I'll take the under and I won't bet the spread.
This game's going to be interesting. For the 49ers, 49ers, yeah, Jeff Wilson is the backup running back. He's probably going to go for like 50 and a touchdown. Deebo Samuel's absolutely going to get some run in the absence of Elijah Mitchell. We've seen that plenty. Could be more passing volume for the Niners. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't see the game script needing a lot of passing. We know that if it doesn't require that, the Niners aren't going to force that. Which throws some water on Ayuk. Deebo, you're insulated with the running aspect. On the other side of this with the Seahawks, like Dan just said, right? Here's Bosa. And DK Metcalf was a hyper inefficient 7 targets, 7 receptions, and 39 yards. Still good for 10 points, but
they neutered Metcalf.
They did.
That's come on, man.
That's even nice.
The size speed specimen he is, and you jujued him. You jujued him.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Penny was
fucking
all right,
brutal.
but you're mixing Walker back in. I'm avoiding Seattle this week. It's a straight avoid for me. And the Niners, I don't want anything other than Deebo and Kittle if he plays. Just stay with the known commodities here. Let them get a real game under their belt. It's not a team that's so deep that you have to go start Brandon Ayuk.
No, and I feel like people are going to be I feel like Jeff Wilson's going to be chalked this week on DFS because he's at 5,100 right now. So he's an easy
number one cash play.
Yeah, he's
it's going to be Jordan Mason. So what the fuck do we know?
Thank you, Dan. Oh my, that's what we know, Dan. You are in the same minefield here because I'm looking at that like 4,200.
Yeah,
no, it's not going to be a price because that's the sermon thing.
He's got to be
right?
active first.
Yeah, he's gonna
but
be,
Mason. But Mason feels like the sneaky cheap play. Like I'm gonna have him at least like 2 lineups.
This is week 1 Houston.
This
is week 1 Houston.
It's also not Jimmy Garoppolo under center, so you don't really need to go that deep at running back because you just throw Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel down there throughout the running game too.
Lance will have a good game too.
But watch Wilson will get it all the way down the field. And they'll just put Mason in at the goal line.
No, they'll put Lance in.
No, Lance is just going to
Lance is the goal line back. It's not going to be Mason, who is very slow and unathletic.
He'll just slot in.
Stop trying to make
Right?
Mason a thing.
I'm gonna
No,
try.
but I mean, it's funny
Mason is
because
not a thing.
And then
that's
next
what
week
the Niners will do. Except like they're a better version of New England because at least their backs are productive.
they're gonna throw it in our face. They're gonna make us think it's gonna be Wilson, and it's not gonna be.
It
And then
probably will
everyone
be.
that blew all their fab this week, and they'll be pissed about it.
Wilson's gonna have 2 rushing
guys that
touchdowns
blew all
on
their
6 carries. I think it hurts.
Those guys that blew all their fab on Trey Sermon are going to be real pissed about how this game goes.
All of this guy who blew all of his bad money on trades. Like Jesus. The worst of misclicks. That wasn't a misclick. All right. We're moving on. Fuck this game. A game I thought would have been fun. Thanks, Dak. Cincinnati at Dallas. Cincinnati 7.5-point favorites. 42.5.
That's low.
That is, it's not Dak, it's Cooper Rush now. Since he should win this game by this many points, Dallas still has a good pass rush. And since his O-line
did not look good against the Steelers.
Granted, Steelers
didn't.
also good pass rush, but either way, it's not like Dallas is no slouch either. Micah Parsons will, can do some but huge damage. I still think since he wins this game, do they beat him by more than a touchdown though? That's $1 million question. Again, not betting the spread. I don't like the total here because I don't trust Dallas. Like I don't trust this offense. I don't think they'll be able to move the football because I don't have any faith in Cooper Rush. And with that, you can take the under because all the scoring can be done by Cincinnati. Even at Dallas, even with his spread. 42.5 feels like a lot for one of these teams who may not score very, very many points. Take the under.
Okay. For the Bengals, we're waiting to find out on T. Higgins, obviously Chase, Burrow, Mixon. The other thing I'm going to say here, though, against the Cowboys is that the guys that got it done were the guys playing over the middle in Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth. I'm going to go ahead and call for the Hayden Hurst stream this week.
Hopper.
Wait.
Stole it from me.
I'm calling for a Hayden Hurst stream this week.
Yeah,
Hayden Hurst isn't playing Cincinnati, though.
He plays for Cincinnati.
He plays for Cincinnati.
He's their tight end.
I know.
You
want Schultz
I gave the wrong deal.
I was like, wait a minute.
Schultz.
I'm very confused here.
Hold on. No, we're going to. No, you're right. Hold on. We're going to do that thing that I do sometimes. The guys
just rewind it and erase it.
No, we're not going to rewind it and erase it. I'm just going to make the same point for a different team. Where
he does, yeah.
I do this a lot.
He does this a lot. Love it.
Actually, it's really hard.
We all do it.
The Bucks didn't do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Godwin was 3 for 35, primarily working over the mid. I can't make that argument. Either way, I'm going to call for the Hayden Hurst stream this week. I already said it. I can't take it back.
Can't take it back.
Even if it's based on a completely wrong narrative, because
you can still stream Dalton
because
Schultz.
I'm still in preseason form. Dalton Schultz isn't streamable, but I like Dalton Schultz.
You just made the argument why you should stream Dalton Schultz.
No,
in the form of Hayden
Dalton
Hurst.
Schultz isn't streamable because he was drafted everywhere. That's what I mean. You're not going to go pick him up.
Shadow.
I don't know.
Right, though.
Let me go this way. Dallas, you can get a little cutesy with Noah Brown too. I made the comment earlier. I'm going to stick to it. I picked him up in a lot of places. Maybe I'm just trying to will this into existence. The guy's been on the Cowboys. He's been on the Cowboys for the entirety of Cooper Rush's tenure. They both played second, third, fourth string. The entirety of their careers. That chemistry is there. He's in the wide receiver 2 role. He led the team in targets. It should be a situation where the Cowboys have to throw. So, look, finally a game where I can give you some streaming options. Noah Brown at wide receiver, especially for any of your hurt guys. You should have claimed him on waivers. If you didn't, Hayden Hurst against the Cowboys, especially if there's no T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd also very viable this week if there's no T. Higgins. Stay tuned on Sunday for a full recap on the Bengals pass catchers.
And we can just move on.
Yeah.
Next game.
All right. Houston at Denver. Denver, 9.5-point favorites, 45.5 implied total.
Gross.
I I gotta think Denver is gonna be. It's gonna
Fine.
come out a little more impressive than than what we saw Monday night.
Mhm.
Got that shit out of their system. I'm not ready to bet high double digit spreads on teams that haven't shown me anything yet. They haven't shown me enough yet. So avoid the bet. I do like the under. Houston's playing against a far better defense in Denver than what they played against in Indy, and Davis Mills is very good. So I'll take the under. I don't know what we're gonna get from Denver in this game, but I think Houston's not going to put up very many points.
No, I think for Denver, you just go ahead and play your starters, both
Yeah,
running backs,
chalk.
both wide receivers, and Wilson. It's pretty chalk. For the Texans, I'm going to go ahead and say steer clear of Brandon Cooks. Even though Seattle won that game, Denver did not give up a damn thing to the wide receivers, and it's not like there's anything there to take pressure off of Brandon Cooks. It's a good secondary, a good defense there in Denver. Pivot away from that.
DFS, Ryan?
Oh yeah. For that, I would probably. It's so hard, but I can't move off it just based on what I saw on Monday night. And I still feel Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are worth the plays at 6,100 for Sutton and 5,600 for Jeudy. Just because they have that ability to,
It's a good call.
I mean, it's that catch and run. They're gone. And
You're
that
going to
air
get
yards
the
already
rush
had.
stacks. You're going to get the Russell Wilson, with the triple stack with both, and then you can do a double with one or the other. Maybe run it back.
You can even follow that with, or even follow it back with Albert O at 3,700.
Or
he had that almost touchdown, so he was almost
four tight ends are involved in that offense. So man,
that's rough.
So that's a little gross from a non-target hog, Albert O.
Yeah, it's a hard one, but those two receivers I would definitely go with.
All right, we got another question.
God, I love this show.
X Diamond, shout out to Diamond. I think this is the first time I've seen you in the live stream. This is more of an ethics question. He's asking,
okay,
there's a trade in this league. It was James Robinson and Brandon Ayuk for CeeDee Lamb, and he's asking if it should be vetoed.
No,
you never
No.
veto.
Never veto.
But we'll go with. Let's just clear, collusion.
Yeah, that's the only reason you veto is if there's clear collusion. A lot of people think veto is to enforce trade value, and that's not the case because you cannot speak for how somebody else values a player, especially this early in the season with this little to go on. Brandon Ayuk was a guy that was hyped to have a breakout season, and his one game's been in a monsoon. So you cannot determine how somebody else is going to value somebody, especially season long.
He made the trade, and now it's getting vetoed.
Yeah. No, that should not be vetoed.
No, not at all.
I do not believe that should be vetoed, and it's for the same reason, right? They cannot – the veto is not to enforce we didn't think it was a fair trade because the other members of your league don't know how you and the person you traded with value a player. And it's all about how you individually value a player, especially this early on when still generally speaking, we don't know anything. So no, that should not be vetoed. I'm also a firm believer that, if your league is still set up on league vote, that you get off of that and just put it in the commissioner's hands, especially if you have a trustworthy commissioner. But yeah, I that trade should not be vetoed. I don't even. What was the trade again? Remind me. It was. I know Ayuk and CD, right?
Ayuk and James Robinson for CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, James Robinson just had a good game. CeeDee Lamb just lost his starting quarterback. Ayuk is seen as a breakout candidate, and his only game's been in a monsoon. That really isn't that even that lopsided. I don't even look at that and say somebody got fleeced.
No, you're almost buying at the CeeDee Lamb discount right now. You're not buying it with Dak. You're
That's
paying
what I
for
like.
the Cooper Rush
Yeah,
type of price.
that's the type of deal I like to get CD. You can risk losing James Robinson, who's not going to score 2 touchdowns a game, and you can risk losing Ayuk. He didn't say what side he's on, and he doesn't have to.
I mean,
you don't have
still,
to.
Either
Unless
way,
you want to, you don't have to. But
you're getting, and if you're trading away CD because of that, you're getting depth. or you're making the late season buy. I mean, I can see the argument from both sides, which makes it a perfectly valid trade.
Yeah. I will say this. If it's getting vetoed, I have no problem with you asking for your money back and just leaving the league. If it's with friends and have a hard conversation, but veto no one should play in leagues with vetoes. I'm sorry, but it's fucking stupid.
Unless it's pure obvious collusion.
Yeah.
Which I've only seen once in playing in about, 15 leagues a year since I was 12.
It is extremely hard to actually prove a collusion unless it's pretty fucking unless the people are obvious.
It was an entire team changing hands, one out of the playoffs, one in the playoffs, because we clearly pissed somebody off by not vetoing another trade for the reasons we just described of it might have been a little lopsided, but it wasn't clear and obvious collusion.
Yeah. I'm firm on the CD side, but I understand why the guy made this trade. This should not get vetoed, and you should be fighting like hell to change it.
Yep.
Never veto. Definitely not in this case. And if it does, I seriously would consider asking for my money back and dropping from the league because that's complete bullshit. So that's just me. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's me.
I'm typically the type where if I get pissed off at the league, I'll still finish out this season and then leave in the off season.
Yeah. It depends it depends. I guess it also depends on who the league's with. And if you put money into it, whatever. But I get scoring pretty easily. All right. Anyways, great question. All sorts, from all angles. So thank you guys out there. We'll be back Sunday. Moving on though. Cardinals at the Raiders. Raiders 5.5-point favorites. 51.5 is the game total. The Cardinals look terrible against the Chiefs. I think is a safe way to say it. The offense just wasn't able to find their stride against the Cardinals. Raiders had a tough go at it against the Chargers, who have one of the stronger rosters in the league when healthy. I'm a little shocked. 5.5 is the spread here. I think it'll be a little closer, more of a back and forth game. So I like the Cardinals to cover 5.5, and I like the game total to go over because both defenses aren't very good, and both offenses have shown the ability with the playmakers they have that they can put up points. So love the over for sure, and I do like the Cardinals to cover 5.5.
Yeah, for the Cardinals, I like Zach Ertz, Kyler, and then Connor. Eno had a pretty forgettable week 1, and you're not chasing Greg Dortch pass production, especially if Rondale Moore's back. So you're going to have to wait and see on a lot of that. For the Raiders side of this, Devontae Adams feasted, Darren Waller feasted, Hunter Renfrow. There's some questions around Josh Jacobs. It was a Josh Jacobs performance. It was fine. So there's not a whole lot to talk about in this game. The Cardinals were out of sorts. They're without a very key piece. They don't have a lot of depth at that particular position where they're without a key piece. Could be a little ugly for a bit.
So a chalk play, pretty much.
Yeah. Based on
it might
what
be
you
ugly.
know.
It might be. I think Josh Jacobs gets back on track this game, and I wouldn't mind having him in DFS right now at 5,800, or even trying to pair him up with Derek Carr, or even do a tri-stack, add in Derek Carr with Darren Waller. So I feel like this game is going to be like a back and forth game. I think it's going to be more. It's not going to do what happened against the Kansas City Chiefs, but I mean, Mahomes did put up like 37 DFS points against this defense. So I think Derek Carr can do the same exact thing, who was also close to being 300 yards last week. So,
question, real quick. You said Josh Jacobs can be back on track. Is 73 total yards and no touchdowns off track for Josh Jacobs? Because that feels pretty normal to me.
We had like one reception for 16 yards and what was it, 10 carries?
He
only had 10 carries.
So it was a good average.
4 targets to the running back, I guess, is the biggest concern, with Brandon Bolden leading the way at 2.
But I think but he didn't get in the end zone or anything. I think he actually gets in the end zone this week.
That's always been the issue with Jacobs. He just doesn't get targeted. So he's a poor man. So a far poor man's like Nick Chubb, where he just doesn't get involved in the passing game. So he has to lean on his running game to actually be productive. Should be a better week with what the Chiefs put up at the very least.
Yeah. Hey, we got another listener question. This one comes from Ryan, longtime listener, first time caller. I'm in a half-point PPR league. My starting running back is DeAndre Swift. I'm looking for an RB2. Do I go Zeke Elliott, Melvin Gordon, Cam Akers, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or Breece Hall?
Oh, God. So Zeke, Hall, or Hilaire?
Yeah, that's how I read that. The Zeke should see a bunch of volume,
Boy.
I would think. Pollard too. Bengals not super strong against the run. Not weak against it. Pretty neutral. Hall, we talked about the receiving work there, but he's still the wrong end of a 60-40 split. Allaire, basically, if he didn't catch 2 touchdowns, he's worth nothing. I think it's Zeke.
And he was decent last year against the sack front, which I expect him to see now with no Dak. There's absolutely no reason for the defense to shell out against Cooper Rush. So back in 2020, when Dak was out for the majority of the game, Zeke was 56 in carry rate against the sack front. Yards per carry, he was pretty low. So there is a bit of concern now with what the Dallas is going to be seeing from a on offense from a defensive standpoint. But Zeke should get the volume. Clyde
33 split there, essentially. If it wasn't for 2 touchdowns, he doesn't.
It's hard to know because of
himself
that
a day.
blow. I mean, they
Touchdowns
were
are fluky.
yeah, that too, and it's hard to know what the actual touchdown would have looked like had they not been blowing out the Cardinals by pretty much the first quarter. Tougher matchup against the Chargers. I think Clyde could have more upside just because of the offense. Zeke probably has the safer volume. I think Hall is tough because you're basically banking on the targets to remain the same. And while we both like them, it's also Cleveland, who won't score a lot of points either.
Wrong side of a split. Give me volume. Volume's king.
Yeah. Ask me again on Sunday, longtime listener. Tune in Sunday, and maybe I'll have more information to give you.
Better flow. Thanks for the question.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah.
On-time listener, Ryan. All right. Sunday night football game. Bears at the Packers. Packers 9.5-point favorites. At 41.5 is the game total. I said I would sprinkle a very little bit amount on the Bears money line because I want to will that into existence. Don't make that play, but make that play.
I want that to be willed into existence too.
Yeah, so make that play, but don't make that play. Just make that play with a little bit amount of money, but don't make it. Stay away from this game otherwise, because we don't know really. Green Bay looked terrible, but they're one big play away in the beginning of the game to at least keep that game relatively close to route, and the defense stepped up in the second half more so. The Bears were on the right side of a monsoon game. We don't know what this offense will look like, and they get a far better quarterback at least to play. No. One would think the Packers would want to come out and make a statement after an embarrassing loss to a division rival, but fuck Green Bay.
I would think the only thing I care about here is the 4 running backs.
Yeah.
And,
Justin Fields.
Jones and Dylan pretty split. Elijah Mitchell was running at a pretty good clip, as was Debo in this one. The Bears could kind of key down on the run because of what the weather was. So Packers side, you're fine there. We'll see. Niners monsoon game didn't get anything going in the passing game. A couple of key secondary plays from the Bears. Lots of rookies and unproven talent outside of the Packers. So just the running backs. For the Bears, look, same thing. Monsoon game, completely new receiving core. You could run with Darnell Mooney, but I think him, especially if he draws Alexander, is a little bit of a mismatch. Montgomery got volume first half. Herbert got more work second half and looked better. So it's the 4 running backs.
Yep. Agree. I'm avoiding this game in DFS. I don't want to play any part of it.
Well, it is a solo game at the very least.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
I mean, you could do like a
it's not gonna
Sunday
be part
Monday
of the
night
big
matchup, but it's
I
not
guess
worth
if
it.
you want to, but
and just
again,
stack all of Monday night.
you would not. You would sprinkle in maybe
This-
Watson.
Hey, this
Watson
is where
as
you
a
get your
deep play.
Monday night doubleheader.
Yeah, right. It's weird. Week 2. I guess they really wanted to feature Denver at Seattle.
Well, and it's not like you get to finish one game and watch the other. They're competing against themselves.
Right? Yeah, they
That's
are
how they roll.
weird. All right. Speaking of Monday night games, Tennessee at Buffalo. Buffalo 9.5-point favorites. 48.5 is the game total. I'll take Buffalo, and I'll take the under. I don't think Tennessee scores much against them. And if Buffalo, gets up early, they're not known to take the foot off the gas. But if Tennessee still has to score enough points to get this thing up to 49 points, I don't think they do. Even if Buffalo keeps it going, I'll take Buffalo, the high spread, because that team looks like they're in midseason form on Thursday night, and that's week 1, first game of the year. A lot of highlight, a lot of lights on them. They're rolling. Easy. Give me Buffalo in the under.
Henry's the obvious answer here for Tennessee, just solid. Henderson had a good game. Nothing spectacular from Henry, but just solid. What I'm watch listing here, and I expect Ryan will probably say, I'm not going to recommend it for fantasy. Just pay attention, unless you're somehow that desperate. Cooper Kupp had a good game against the Bills. Kyle Phillips plays the slot and led the team in targets and receptions. I'll just leave it at that. He could be in line for another solid Florida. The Bills side of this, start the people you drafted to start. Devin Singletary is the running back that you're going to roll with.
And DFS, you nailed it, Chris. I was going to say Kyle Phillips had a bargain play because he's at $3,900 this week. Same reason, the Cooper Kupp role, playing that slot, hell of a deal right there. You're obviously going to play Derrick Henry. I mean, he's 8,300. He's definitely a running back you're going to play in this game if you're going to play anyone. And then the Buffalo side, I'd still go Gabriel Davis. He's starting to come up in price. He's at 6,200 right now. And then Devin Singletary is also the other easy play at 5,500, just because we know it's kind of his backfield for now until we start seeing him. It's his backfield to lose, is how I like to look at it as now. And then Minnesota, Philadelphia.
We got a question.
Again?
Oh, no way.
Another question from
Wow.
Hardcore.
Oh, yeah.
Another listener. This one is why I went, ooh. Should I trade Cordero Patterson for Ezekiel Elliott?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
I
man.
wouldn't even think about it twice. Sell high on Cordell Patterson.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
God. Yes, do it. But it did make me, it was like, ooh.
You had to think for a second because
I always just,
he had that great stretch to start last season, starts this season with a great game. Really cooled off towards the end of last year, though.
Yeah.
Like, really cooled
Just-
off. He was like ice.
Yeah.
If you can. If you need to throw in a wide receiver 2 to pull it off, even. Do it. All right. Final game. Minnesota at the Eagles. Eagles 1.5 favorites at home. I was shocked by this spread. 51.5 is the game total. I think this is a lot of respect to Minnesota for what they just did to Green Bay. I thought Philly should be closer to 3 or 4. That'd be my guess that this spread would be between a 4 and 5. But 1.5 feels like it's basically a pick'em game at this point.
I expect this to be another high-scoring game.
51.5 was a little
Yeah.
higher than what I thought. I thought it started at 50, which I felt would be fair. Minnesota's defense isn't great. This is a far bigger test than what they had against Green Bay, but this is also a bigger test for Philadelphia. With the Minnesota team that's coming in hot and looked very impressive.
And a good offense. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
and that's the thing, right? You look at what the Lions, who on paper, I think that their defense is at least better than a lot of people anticipated. I mean, the Lions offense played above expectations last year. This year they've added stuff, and they went out and put up, 35 against the Eagles. And now you bring in the Vikings, who have the top tier elite talent. There's going to be some points scored. Like you said, Dan, Vikings defense not great. Eagles, other side of that, put up 38 on Detroit. And, I think that, I'm not going to be surprised if this game goes over 60. So there's a fun alt spread for you if you want to throw a little money on it.
Yeah. And this is a true definition of a back and forth game, I think, here too.
Right. Which means that you want the fantasy pieces in this. You want Justin Jefferson. You want Adam Thielen. You want Dalvin Cook. You could make an argument for KJ Osborne. I'm not going to because didn't do a lot last week. But, on the other side of this, you want Miles Sanders, who's coming off of a really good game. A.J. Brown, a huge game. Devonta Smith.
Jalen Reagor revenge game, guys? Anyone?
No.
Devonta Smith's 4 targets, no catches.
Yep.
Bounce back in for him. This is a far better matchup for him.
Yep. So, look, you want pieces in this game. That's all I'm going to tell you. I think this is going to be high scoring. Way more fun than Tennessee Buffalo.
Yeah. DFS wise, I would try to build my stack around this. Like if I'd build the high of the Minnesota Philadelphia game and try to take the lows of the Tennessee Buffalo and try to piece those two together. That'd be the only way to do it because there's nothing that's really truly a good value, and there's nothing that really stands out as like a must have either.
Yeah.
Outside of Miles Sanders at 5,600.
That's it, and that's really baked into the fact that the running, that Gainwell and Boston Scott do see, especially Gainwell do see touches, and Hurts also likes to steal rushing touchdowns from the running backs. And the guy that asked the question, he was offered Zeke for Patterson. That was sent to him.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm
Smashing
smash. Yeah. Probably breaking my phone by accident.
Yeah, or Miles, whatever it is.
Using my boner to hit accept because I just got hard.
That's
the show. That's it.
The balls.
That's the show. Thank you guys very much
Sunday.
for tuning in. We'll see you guys Sunday. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.